and child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection, okay? And that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. True. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Were there signs there? Were there no signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sabrina, and I'm your host for today. This is Fight CPS and Win, the Horror Stories reality series. Today we have Cassandra as our guest. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Okay, good. I wish we could be meeting on better circumstances. So let's just jump right into it. What's going on? What's happening? Did CPS come into your life?
Yeah, they came into my life exactly 1 month after a sister passed away. And a family member mentioned the custody of my daughter to me at the end of the funeral.
Wow. So they called CPS on you?
Yes, their parents were caring for my daughter while I was staying somewhere else.
Okay. How old is your daughter?
She's 3.
She's 3. Oh, that's such a great age. So CPS came out, and what happened? Did they take her from you?
They did. They made me admit to there being neglectful actions, which there were none, and they said something about abuse, which there was none. And I don't understand, because she was staying with these people's parents who raised them, you know, like her and her siblings, and also me and my siblings too. And nobody ever had any problems, you know, like neglect or abuse. And there were none occurring in the home when my daughter was there either.
Right. So but those were the allegations, right?
Yeah. And there was drugs too, but it was just marijuana.
Okay. So then they started offering you services, and that's like the classes and the counseling and all that?
Yeah, they created a case plan.
Okay. Where are you at with that right now? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, currently I did parenting classes, counseling. I refused to do domestic violence courses as well, because they also alleged that.
Mm-hmm.
None.
I hear that a lot. They like to tack that one on. So what are they telling you as of right now? What is happening with your child?
My trial, I just had a pretrial. And at the pretrial, I believe it was my daughter's lawyer, maybe. They motioned the court to do permanent custody. And then another lawyer said they couldn't do that because it was just a pretrial. And the judge actually didn't even realize when they asked to put the motion forward that it was the pretrial. So a lawyer had to step in and say, this is a pretrial. You can't do that.
Wow.
So they extended it, and I have another one in August, and I'm trying to prepare.
So where is your child right now?
She is with a very extensive relative, in a way.
Okay.
Like a third cousin.
Okay. And is the cousin, are you good with the cousin? Is she trying to help you get your daughter back, or is she kind of using it against you? Or
she's the one who called on me.
She's the one. Oh, goodness.
And they gave her right to her because she's like works in law enforcement. She's was a cop and a sheriff and married to one.
Okay, that says it all. That's so sorry to hear that. That's really difficult. So are you getting your visits?
Currently, I didn't visit her for the last few weeks due to my father having a surgery, and I needed to be around to help take care of him. But nobody reached out and asked me what happened, But I did check on her via phone.
Okay. But they do have visits set up for you?
It's an open visitation right now, but it's just at like 7 a.m. on Saturday while she's still half asleep.
Oh. They do that on purpose, right? Yeah. Wow. So what is your lawyer telling you to expect? What's like the deal? Why are they not giving her back to you?
I'm not sure. My lawyer didn't put any work into looking into my case. The other lawyer for her father, he had to withdraw because he knew my cousin, because she works in law enforcement. She knows a lot of them, and they have to give my daughter's father a new lawyer too.
Okay. That makes sense. So are they telling you that like there's a good chance that you're going to get her back, or are they telling you that they're going to take your rights away? Like
No, they terminated my rights a long time ago, and they unlawfully removed her from where I had her in the first place. So I just don't understand.
I feel you. I've seen so many videos of social services and even police literally ripping children from their parents' arms, and it's so heartbreaking and it's so difficult to watch, and how they keep getting away with this, I don't understand it either. I really don't. So what are you going to do now? What's your game here?
I'm researching a lot. I'm looking into the laws, like the actual Ohio laws, and I'm writing down sections and word for word description of the law so I can bring up how they are denying me my rights, my due process. Even my trial got messed up. They tried to turn a pretrial into a trial.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Wow.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. So did they have like any proof that you did any of this?
No.
It's so difficult, because most of us can't afford an attorney that can like do the right thing. And these public defenders are they're all in the same circle together. The child attorney, your attorney, the judge, anyone in that courtroom, they all work together. And it's so sickening. And, for people who have never been through them before, have you dealt with CPS before this, like as a child or?
No.
So when you don't know anything about how they work, you just trust that they're telling you what it is, but it's not the case at all.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, Wow. What about the dad? Is that where she is right now? Or you said she's with your
No.
cousin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the dad in her life at all?
Yeah, we're both trying to work on getting her back and do what they told us to do with our case plan, and but
Wow. So they just pushed your case now to give you more
mhm,
time for testing and that excuse?
mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Um what um what did your attorney tell you to expect at this next hearing?
I have not been able to get in touch with him. I've been calling him for a few days, and they tell me that he's in a meeting, or but I leave my name and my number, and I'm expecting a call back maybe Monday. But I just don't want, because they all work for the same people, anyone lying under oath and, like, just to fit the narrative of their paperwork to justify the termination of my rights and the um, giving away my daughter.
Yeah, it's so crazy that they can do that and off of hearsay with no proof, no evidence, you know? It's just not right. And how long did you say this has been going on?
This has been going on since February 2021.
Okay. Oh, wow. And how is your daughter doing?
I mean, she's doing okay. They put her in school before she even turned 3 and put her into piano lessons, and they're just trying to look like the perfect fit. And
That checks out.
it's just because people sometimes can't have their own children, even maybe they want someone else's. I don't know. There's adoption, and keep in mind, these people did have this. My cousin had 2 children already. They're grown. And she claimed that she was done with kids and that she would take my daughter just until I could get a home, because I was living out of a motel. So they told me I wasn't allowed to have her at one. And it would be safer for her to go with my cousin, even though I already had her with my uncle, my great uncle, and we had an agreement, and I was going over there all the time and taking her to all of her medical appointments, and she's never been neglected or abused in any way.
That's good. So when they told you that you couldn't have her in a hotel, did they offer you any kind of housing services or any help to get permanent housing?
They gave us a list of landlords who will sometimes take people who have evictions or bad credit, which I had both. And we called every single one.
It's difficult.
Yes, we called every single one, and not one worked out. They just gave the last one away, or, whatnot.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving back in with my mom and dad, and where I grew up with my 4 sisters. It's a safe, loving home. And they told me she can't be here due to someone saying there are bugs, which there are not. So I had to let somebody know that that was false information. It didn't get brought up at the pretrial. Like, my caseworker tried denying 4 parenting class certificates after I checked in with him first if those were going to be good enough. And he said yes. And then I would show him the certificate, and no good.
Wow.
I even paid for one, and it said on the website that it had to be accepted by the Department of Children's Services for Ohio.
Wow. And so, well, do they know for sure that your cousin was the one who made the report, and then they gave her the child?
Yes. She met with a CPS worker at her house. She had them come to her house. She had her father go to her house, and they called me from my uncle's cell phone asking if I would meet them the next day. And I said, well, I have nothing to hide. You can come and talk to me. That's fine. I'm not guilty of anything. I don't assume that I'm having my daughter taken just because I'm having to meet with CPS.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, you know, but unfortunately, the best thing to do is to not tell them anything, not talk to them, and you know, because you think it's kind of like common sense, you know, you think I'm not a bad parent, we don't have bugs, you know, we're doing the right thing, so absolutely let them come in and absolutely we'll talk to them. But they just have a way of spinning everything and telling stories and making you look as bad as possible. So it's not even really worth it, you know, which is why it really helps to have an attorney behind you to guide you. But, you know, it's just unfortunate how the system is handling these cases. Oh man,
It's sad.
it really is. So, have you gotten any like progress reports from your classes and all that?
I mean, I just received certificate at the end. They email you a copy, and yeah.
But they're saying that it's not enough, that they want more.
Well, I had to report it to the supervisor that my caseworker wasn't accepting that, and then I had to email them to her, and it got brought up at the hearing that there were a couple parenting class certificates that I did. Nobody praised me for it or made it look like it was an effort. It was just still no good, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, they like to do that. They like to buy time because then they get more money, more funding from the state, you know? So it's just ridiculous because it's really, really hard, you know, to change your entire life schedule and jump through all of their hoops, you know, between the drug testing and the counseling and the meetings. And it is very, very difficult, you know? And so when you get towards, you know, the end, you think, okay, we're going to court, you know, I won't have to do this anymore. And then they tell you, oh, no, actually, we want to continue and we need some more tests from you. It's just ridiculous, you know? It's just a way for them to make more money. Not okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with what our taxpayer dollars are going towards anymore.
Yeah. And gosh, I really feel for you because the fact that, you know, she's a police officer, you know, they all kind of work together and stick together. And gosh.
Yeah. So
I really feel for you.
Yeah.
And so when this first happened, they wouldn't give your daughter to your parents?
No, they completely skipped kinship rules and everything. They just said that I fought for her for 3 hours at the initial CPS meeting at the house. And the guy said it's the longest house call he ever made and he just wants to go home. So all he needed from me was to say that I would allow them to place my daughter with my cousin or whatever. But I did not agree with that because she was my third cousin and she also has done very damaging things to my family in the past, like my deceased sisters of mine and also still alive ones have been targeted by her. Like they got her and her husband suspended for illegally evicting us from her parents' house, and she got into an altercation with one of my sisters, and she took it down to the police station, and they suspended them.
Well, that's good.
And that happened after my case started, so I didn't agree with them, you know, messing up their careers and their jobs while trying to maintain temporary custody of my daughter. That doesn't look like you're going to have a stable job.
Yeah. And so is it possible to get her placed somewhere else that's like not a conflict of interest?
I've been trying. It's getting to the point where I can't get a hold of anybody. I am nervous that there are things going on the inside of the department that I'm unaware of, you know, communications between specific people that are changing the outcome of my case due to lack of communication. And like, I've had a few people say they believe this is some kind of bribery within the department. I don't know. A lot of people spoke about my case being very, very strange, and my like there was little to no due process, and I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Gosh. Well, wow, your poor child. Did they threaten to arrest you if you said it took several hours and the police were there for a while when they took her initially? Did they threaten to arrest you for not letting her go with them?
No, because what I did was I took her somewhere else to her aunt's house, and she was trying to help me gain. She was trying to take custody if they were going to terminate my rights. Like, she was going to take custody of her and allow us to stay at her home so we could all still be together. But that didn't work out. So I had to return her back to my aunt and uncle's because I didn't feel it looked right taking her away from, a bed and a house and putting her in one room at a motel that when it was 5 minutes away from one another. It was a small house and it was a very cheap place if you pay by week. So we were just staying there while we could find another housing situation because we got evicted.
Right.
We just didn't have any time to get back up on our feet. And I had a sister pass away too. And so they brought it all up right after she passed away. And even at the meeting, she said she felt like she was my sister. But family doesn't do that to one another, should they?
No, not at all. Oh, man. I understand, like, if you were homeless on the street, but you were in a hotel with, shelter and food and all that. Like, how can they say that, she can't be with you because you are in a motel?
Well, I have an interesting response from the caseworker for that one. I asked him, why do I see all these other people with children here at the motel and it's okay? They don't have an open case. That's what I got. So he didn't elaborate on it or anything. He just assumed,
So because you have an open case, you're not allowed to stay in a motel.
I mean, and then I left the motel, moved back into a home with a spare bedroom for my daughter and everything, and they just will not give her back. They're suing me for my daughter, and they terminated all my rights. And if they get her permanently, I just know that my daughter's going to be calling somebody else mom because she's so young and she's not going to want to go to school and come home and know that she doesn't have a mom. So I'm like scared that one day it's going to get to that point.
Right. So besides the living situation, because they should have let you be in a motel with her, that's ridiculous. Besides that, what were the other allegations you said?
There was a domestic violence allegation, which there were no arrests or charges or any kind of documented evidence or anything. And there was drug use because of marijuana, but I went and got my medical card for that, so they couldn't get that against me. There was mental instability. They assumed that I was suffering mental illness due to the loss of my sister at the time.
Oh my gosh.
They got to be kidding me. And they wrote every single thing they could down and lit every hoop on fire.
Gosh, that is horrible. I'm so sorry.
I'm
You're already going through it, and then they do that to you. That is just awful. That's what they do. These workers are just horrible people. Like, I don't understand how you can rip a child from their parents, especially over something like ridiculous like that, and you're testing clean for them, right?
I have a medical marijuana card,
yeah.
but they have not even tested me one more time since the initial testing to show that I was positive for a substance abuse, like the marijuana. So
Okay.
they haven't even given me another test, and it's been over a year.
Really?
I haven't been tested one time since the initial one where they actually would have needed a court order for that, but I submitted to it anyway because I didn't feel like being non-compliant with them because I thought it would make things worse for me.
Yeah, that's how people think. That's how you should be able to think, But there's a lot of stories of false positives, and they like to cause problems when there isn't any, just so that way they can make money off of your child. It's just disturbing on so many levels. But so how many? Okay, I can't believe they haven't tested you in over a year when that's one of the allegations.
Yeah. Yep.
That does not make any sense at all. And do you have like any kind of proof or any way to prove to the courts that where your daughter is at right now is not, an okay place for her, that, you guys have had your whatever drama and that she's trying to take your child from you and making up stories to do so?
No, I haven't really thought about it that much because once they took her and placed her with them, they signed a temporary custody order, and I was just focused on trying to change my living arrangements and,
Right.
like situations that could benefit towards my case plan. So
Right.
it was an unlawful remove in the first place. So I've been telling everybody that they said that the people my daughter was living with, my aunt and my uncle, that they were too old and they were deemed unfit. That's how they got my daughter. They deemed the people unfit, even though there was another child living there at the same time, and they didn't worry about the other child being there. But come to find out, they were never even actually documented as unfit. They were just told they were too old, and they took my daughter away from there. And I asked my uncle, how could you be so grown and stuff and realize that our rights are being violated and, kind of do nothing? Because I'll be honest, they both sat there and didn't defend me with not one word while their daughter was just defecating my name.
I'm sorry.
And I had a sister that tried to speak up for me, and they told her to keep her mouth shut. So the only person that did try to speak on my behalf was told not to.
Jeez. So then they also wanted you to do domestic violence, and you told them no. Are they trying to use that against you?
No, I didn't really tell them no. I just basically personally refused to go and do something that in the end it kind of labels me guilty of that for assuming going and being a participant of that. It would require some sort of guilt within myself why I would attend, and I just refused to go and do something that I'm not guilty for, nor is anybody. And also, if I was the alleged victim, why am I supposed to go to the classes?
Yeah.
I mean, I just hate that. I mean, I know it's informative for the victims as well, but I feel it should be more of like a practice behavior focused towards the person who did it.
I kind of went through something similar with my case. They told me that there was 30-something allegations, and the day before court, the social worker called me and said that my daughter admitted that Nana made her lie, so everything she said is no longer accountable. However, Nana, being my mom, had told a social worker there was domestic violence, which we've never had ever. So they told me they were going to drop everything that my daughter said, but they were still going to hold the domestic violence, even though they know that this came from somebody who told my daughter to lie. They told me that if I don't agree with them to take domestic violence classes, that they would put my daughter on the stand and bring up all the allegations that they just dropped. And what kind of mother would I be to put my daughter on the stand? And made me sign papers in the hallway, not even in the courtroom. And never once did they ask me to do a domestic violence class after that. Never. It never got brought up again. And nothing they said actually happened. So I definitely feel you with that. It's like, why would I take a domestic violence class when we don't have domestic violence? You know, it does. You're right. It makes you look and feel like you're
guilty. You look guilty.
Yeah, it's not okay.
And I'm not falling for that when all of these allegations are not supported, or there's no evidence of anything already anyway, and that's just going to make it look half evidence. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing things the wrong way. My mom said, you need to do everything they say. And I'm like, I refuse. This is not how, because if I was to submit to that, I feel like it's not going to be good for the future of the victims that are alleged against, because it's not going to reform anything if we just keep falling into the little plans that they're giving us, which, what does a domestic violence course really do for your future? It does not provide 100% it doesn't show that you're never going to end up in a domestic violence altercation ever again. It's not going to be your ticket out. I don't know.
Yeah. And, I think that they do that on purpose because the social workers and the counselors, the people that run those classes, I'm pretty sure that they talk to each other. I know that for sure. But then they use the information that you bring up in the class against you with CPS.
Right.
And I saw that happening in the drug classes and in the parenting classes, and it's just so crazy. And I said this before on one of my shows that there was a couple of girls that were in it was a drug class, right? And there were several of us who don't have a drug issue, don't have a drug problem. Mm-hmm. And the counselor told these girls, including myself, that if you don't have a story or you're not talking about your, drug abuse, then we're going to report back that you're not compliant, that you're not doing what you're told, and basically telling them to make up a story just so that way they're participating. It's just like so messed up. The whole system is so whacked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You really have to be careful what you say to anybody involved in this, the social workers, obviously, but any counselor they send you to, any groups, any of that, they're in on it. They are getting the information from the counselors about you, so that way they can keep you in the system longer.
Because they make you sign a release of information, and they're, they're allowed to know what you specifically talked about too.
Right.
Right.
And that shouldn't be the case at all. Social workers aren't counselors. They're not doctors. They're just people. A lot of them are pretty young, without kids, and to have them be the ones that control the situation, it's just mind blowing. How can they determine whether or not you're a good parent or you're doing the right thing, when they have no idea who you really are? And to twist every little word you say and making it sound so much worse than it is. And what kind of person does that? What kind of monster can take a kid away from a perfectly good home?
There's obviously a lot.
Yeah.
Not just me. You've had a lot of people and guests on here that have been through so many traumatic experiences. And it's
And that's why it's really important that we talk about it, and like, thank you for coming on the show, because the more people that come on and talk about it, the more we can, as a whole, you know, try to do something about it. And it's just amazing to hear how many like stories that how many people are going through it. It's crazy. It's like a huge business for them. It's literally like human trafficking, you know, and they're messing up our kids, like psychologically, not just our kids, but everybody involved. Absolutely. And it's so sad.
It's supposed to reunify families.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
They're supposed to reunite families, not break them apart.
Exactly. Right? They're always trying to say that, you know, the last resort is adoption. The last resort is foster care. No, that is their first resort. And I'm just shocked. Well, I guess I'm not shocked because of the fact that, you know, they're a police officer, but the fact that they would take the child and give it to the person who made the allegations, that, you know, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's kind of obvious, you know.
I see what you're saying. It's like almost I want that, so give me or something. And they gave her.
Yeah, it's jeez. So have they come out and checked out your new living situation?
Nope, they won't. I reported about how there are no bugs or whatever, and nobody has asked or called me about visiting or seeing the house or anything. So it's like completely ready, you know, for my daughter to come back and be with me. But every time it comes down to, you know, my living arrangements are different. They say, well, you're still dependent on your parents. By living there. And I'm like, okay, well, I pay rent, you know, and we contribute, and it's a half and half situation. Whereas if I was staying with a family or friend, you know, other friend, they probably would ask the same thing or say the same thing, even though they don't have the right to. All I need is adequate and proper care for her, which is food and clothes and shelter. And I had that for her since the beginning and until they got involved. There wasn't even a missed medical appointment that they could put on me. And it's just, there's nothing. And I'm really shocked and sad how I've been through a couple hearings already, and not one person has sat down and said, this isn't right. It's almost like they are obligated to overlook anything that isn't written down in a way. Like, you know, you read it and you can think this is sketchy, but it's not my job to decipher that. So
yeah, next,
push the paperwork.
Just don't care. There's soulless people that do things like that. So somebody made an allegation saying that there was bugs, or CPS just came up with that one on their own?
No, someone made the allegation.
And then they never actually investigated it?
No.
Yeah. Jeez. Which, that's their job, you know, is to determine that. So the fact that they're trying to use that against you, that really doesn't check out, because, you know, prove it. You know, it really irritates the crap out of me that family court goes on hearsay and they don't have to prove anything.
Yep.
It's just so ridiculous, you know, because there are so many situations with family members or ex-husbands or ex-wives, and they're fighting over their own stuff, but the kids get in the middle and they try to, you know, pin the parent and say, you know, CPS, come check, you know, my wife out because she's doing this wrong, or vice versa, to try to take the kids, you know, when really it's their fight. And that happens a lot, and they should know that, but they take advantage of it.
Yep,
absolutely. You know? Have you tried reaching out to the supervisor for CPS?
Yes, I reached out to her a couple of times and I can't get a hold of her. It's like everyone's gone missing or everyone's busy, and I've been calling them all week long ever since the hearing last week, and I can't really get a hold of anybody just yet. But I mean, I have a little while, thank God, because nobody's answering my calls. But
Yeah.
I also did some research myself, and I wanted to maybe file a motion called a show cause order, and basically it makes them have to provide documented evidence to support the allegations
Yeah.
against me. So I was considering maybe doing that.
I think that's smart. I'm not an attorney. I can't give you legal advice, but good
I
for you for doing your
to
homework.
talk to my lawyer first about it, just in case, maybe something isn't proper about that exact motion. There's a lot of things you can file within the courts, and I'm not sure, because I'm not a lawyer, exactly which one. But I've been looking things up all week, and all day.
Yeah. And your attorney it's a public defender, right?
Yes.
Yes. And is it the same situation with the attorney? You can't get a hold of them?
Yeah, I can't get a hold of him. I called today, and the lady said that he was in a meeting or something, and I gave my name and my number, and I never received a call back. But I figured it's Friday, maybe I'll get a call Monday. But if not, I'm calling again.
Yeah. And Alice is saying keep a log and video them. And I completely agree. Keep video of as much as you possibly can, just to be safe.
Yeah.
What I did? I had the same situation. I could not get a hold of my caseworker. I couldn't get a hold of my attorneys. So I showed up at the CPS office 3 or 4 times to try to talk to someone. And it didn't work out for me, but maybe that can be an option. You can also show up at the courthouse at the public defender's office to see if you can talk to someone there. And, because there's a difference between calling and showing up, so maybe try that route. It's
a good
so
idea.
ridiculous. I hate these public defenders, because they're supposed to be defending you and they're not. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I just know that there's a lot of fabrication, and the allegations against me aren't even supported with anything, and I don't understand how it could even get to the point to a pretrial for permanent custody, because everybody knows once they get involved with this, what's after permanent custody, and that's adoption. So, and I, obviously with the way that family doesn't communicate with one another, they don't plan on not accepting that. So I'm pretty sure that's their plan.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yep. Because once they adopt out the child, they get all these bonuses and all kinds of money. It's so sad. It's so sad. Like, these are huge things. These are children that they're using for money. Like, oh man.
See, that just makes me so hot in the blood.
Yeah, it definitely does. And just don't give up. I keep hearing over and over again that a lot of mistakes that families make is that they hit some kind of a road bump or something happens and they get kind of deferred, and then they kind of just give up, which is really kind of difficult not to sometimes, because the social workers make it sound like you have no other option. This is the end of the line. But you just got to keep fighting it. And what you're doing is great by, looking up online. And, sometimes with these public defenders, you have to tell them what you want and what, they need to do. And hopefully they'll listen to you.
I believe I heard it on from somebody on your show that they won't do anything unless you push them.
Exactly.
So
yep.
You have to make them do their job in a way.
Yep. It's very true. My public defender, the first one that I had, was so awful. I met him once I got inside of the courtroom, so I never got a chance to talk to him before that. And he was screaming at me in front of the judge, in front of everyone, and like cussing me out, telling me that I have to tell them everything. And like, it got kind of crazy. And then after that, every single time I would go to court, they would give me a different public defender. And I would never get a chance to actually talk to anyone, because then I would get to court and it would be somebody completely different, you know? So I think they kind of do stuff like that on purpose, you know, but it's not right. And they are constantly lying and twisting everything that they can.
I agree. Even the lawyer who withdrew from the case, I mean, who knows if they really worked together at one point or had a consult with them, because they probably have consulted with every lawyer in the area, you know, saying not to take my case because they have their plans.
Yeah. You know what they told me? And maybe it's true, but I don't think so. I had mentioned that, you know, you guys, I cannot talk to any of you. Every time I get to court, there's a different attorney, and I'm going to hire private counsel. And they told me that I could not do that, that the only kind of attorneys that are allowed in that courtroom, they have to have a special license, and they have to be known in that court. And so it's like a tight-knit group of people, and they're all in it together. So they tried telling me that I couldn't even hire an outside attorney because they wouldn't have the right license to be in that courtroom.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Okay.
That's just crazy, right? But when you're going through it all and it's so emotional and we're talking about our kids, you know, you don't think that, you know, you just think that's what, okay, maybe they're right. I don't know. I've never done this before. It's just annoying. Wow. So, what are your parents? What are they doing anything to help you? You know, to try to convince the social workers to come to the house, or?
I mean, yeah, they said if anything, if my dad said if we have to put the house in my name, then that's what we have to do, because I came back in the house after the meeting with my CPS worker, and I told him, the guy just said, Dad, your house is not good enough. It was good enough for your 5 kids, but not your 1 granddaughter. And he said, no, absolutely not. If I have to put the house in your name, I will do whatever we have to do in order to show that you are going to be providing for your daughter.
That's great.
So, I mean, they are very supportive and stuff, but he just had an emergency surgery. So he's like healing up right now, and we have to be taking care of him. Like, my great grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed away, all since this has been going on.
That's a lot.
Every month I'm dealing with something else. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So when is the last time you actually talked to a social worker?
Like a social worker, meaning like
regarding the situation with the bugs or whatever, like
right before my pretrial, I believe it was the case manager who called, and she said, how do you feel about them doing a permanent custody order? And I said, I'm absolutely not okay with that. Nobody asks me my feelings. I don't even know why you're calling me the day before wondering what my feelings are about it. It kind of, I don't know. I mean, like, I appreciated somebody asking me, but at the same time, you know, it's just their job to be calling and asking you that one question. They don't really care. Right. So I told her that I have a home now, and she said, well, that's not on the record. And I was like, yeah, I live with my parents now. And she said, well, somebody alleged that wherever you were staying had bugs. And I said, no, that's not true. And there's proof of that too. And you can call somebody and ask, like, you can do anything. You can come over, like, whatever you have to do. And then I told her about the parenting classes, and she only brought it up at the pretrial about my parenting classes. No one brought up my living situation once again.
Wow.
And you're not allowed to speak, I don't think. Like, I'm not allowed to speak out. And
they told you the same. Yep.
And I want the judge replaced too for almost falling for the motion to file permanent custody that day at a pre-trial.
Right. That is so bad. Like, what?
I'm just like, wow. These are the
Wow.
people that sit behind that desk, think it might be time to call it a night and retire because she was, of
Yeah.
age. And if
That
we
or
didn't
they were just trying to pull a fast one on you.
that's exactly right.
Yep.
And we got lucky enough for one of our lawyers to speak up and say, what are you doing?
Yeah. I had a friend who was going through, wasn't social service. Well, yeah, she was going through a divorce with custody battle, and he called CPS on her. And so she decided to put herself in classes and be, proactive about everything, right? So CPS got involved, and if she wouldn't have done that, she would have been fine. But because she was trying to be proactive and, take the classes, do the drug testing, do the counseling, they totally switched and flipped everything on her. So she couldn't get a hold of her attorneys. She couldn't get help. And she ended up writing a couple of letters to the judge. And apparently the judge actually read her letter and took into consideration what she was saying.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you tried doing that.
I got a nice letter I can write,
Yeah.
Keep the strong words out of it, but I can write very professionally, and I can
That's
convince
wonderful.
a judge through a letter personally from me. I never thought about directly contacting the judge because they look at your paperwork and they know nothing about your case and who you really are either. It's all a stranger to you, judging you for being who you are, and they get to be non-judged, and you just have
Right.
to, and then you
And
have
they
to
just
pay
listen
at the
to,
end.
yeah, and they only listen to the social workers, they don't listen to anything else. So, and like you said, they don't allow you, or they didn't allow me to talk in the courtroom ever at any point in time. I was never allowed to talk in the courtroom.
I
So,
wondered why I was invited to the meeting.
yeah.
What am I here for?
Yep. Wow. And so I'm so confused. I don't understand why they're not giving her back to you. You
I don't know. I'm not a drug addict.
Classes,
I'm not a
you know,
alcoholic. Yeah.
That's horrible.
They made her father look really, really bad. They made up crazy stories.
They did the same thing with my husband.
Was
Yep.
domestically violent, but you have to prove that kind of stuff, don't you? You can't just
You
say
would think, yeah,
about somebody and it be true.
Right.
It's called a rumor until it's proven fact.
Right.
So
that's why it's ridiculous that they go on hearsay, but they absolutely do, And like you said, they should be investigating that. There should be some kind of evidence or proof, especially when we're talking about taking a child and removing them from their home, and to have nothing and just going off of somebody that they don't even know. They don't know you. They don't know the situation. There's a lot of vindictive people out there who will call CPS and try to ruin your life for something stupid, and something needs to be done about it. It's about time. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. So, how long did you say until your next hearing?
I think it's in August.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
They prolonged it for a minute, but I'm not sure about the paperwork. I gotta look again because it almost looks like it's the trial. So maybe they did skip a pretrial because of how much time is until the real trial. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but August is when I'm supposed to have another hearing, and it's going to be in person this time, and I'm just very nervous. I don't want to have my daughter taken from me and be looked at honestly, if you're going to terminate parental rights, you should throw me in jail too, because if I can't be a mom, then I shouldn't be in a member of society either. If I can't be trusted with my own child, then I shouldn't be trusted around anybody.
Yeah.
I really just There's no point.
It's so ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes, I'm sick. This is so hard.
Yeah, it is. Oh man. So with your visits, are they monitored visits, or does she get to come to your house?
Nope, I don't get to have her by myself, and we will meet up. Like we were meeting up at the park, Mill Creek Park, and uh, since my cousin's husband is a cop, which they like recently married, so it's like they gave my daughter to a stranger plus a very extensive family member. But sorry, when we were visiting her at the park, he was on duty and he was parked in his police SUV there the whole time watching us. You know, it was very
Wow.
I don't know why he did that, but it just makes me feel like they don't trust me and that they really do need a police officer, somebody with a pair of handcuffs standing by at all times because I'm just so dangerous. We are family. I don't know why you have your husband here. And if he's on duty, why is he not doing his duty?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, you're gonna have a really difficult time because of that.
I know.
I feel for you.
I know. I'm scared.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything else you'd like to add? We're kind of getting close on our time here.
No, I just want to add that I appreciate all the work you're doing and all the time you're spending trying to fight for, the rights of all families out there. Like you're just so talented when you are putting all this together, and it's just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. You as well. And I'm so proud of you for doing your homework on it and, telling or getting your paperwork, make sure you bring that to your attorney, let them know that, you want them to show proof, you are your own attorney sometimes when it comes to public defenders, but I really, really wish you the best. And I would love to have you on again if you want to give us an update.
I would absolutely afterwards. I can again if you would like.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I guess we'll wrap it up then. Thank you everyone for watching. Cassandra, thank you so much. My heart really just goes out to you. I really wish you the best. If anybody else out there wants to share their story, feel free to hit us up and we can schedule that. Anyways, this is Fight CPS and Win the Horror Stories. My name is Sabrina, and have a great weekend. Bye, Cassandra.
Bye.